Jim Montgomery will be coaching the Atlantic Division All-Stars. The Boston Bruins host the Seattle Kraken tonight. And it's time for our weekly cup check here on today's episode of Locked On Boston Bruins.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and welcome back to the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. I'm your host, Ian McLaren, and this is a daily show where we discuss all things Spoke to Beat. I want to thank you so much for making Locked On Bruins part of your day, free and available wherever you get podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. That's BetOnline, where the game starts. Quick reminder for anybody popping in for the first time that the podcast is free and available to download on Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon. Pocket Casts is what I use. So please do subscribe so that you never miss a thing. You can also find the podcast on YouTube. We're nearing 1,000 subscribers. And once we do, I'll be giving away this mini Patrice Bergeron hockey stick from Tim Hortons, which was very hard to get last year. And I have an extra one, so I'm giving it away. Let's begin with Jim Montgomery being tabbed as the coach for the Atlantic Division All-Stars next month in Florida. The Bruins, heading into tonight's game against Seattle, have an unreal record of 32-4-4. Tonight is game 41, the official halfway mark of the season. Jim Montgomery has excelled as the new bench boss for the Boston Bruins, setting himself up as a front runner for the Jack Adams Trophy. No debate there. He'll be competing against Boston's old coach in Bruce Cassidy, who has led the Vegas Golden Knights to first place in the Pacific Division. Pete DeBoer will be representing the Central Division as Dallas Stars head coach, and the Metro will be coached by Rod Brind'Amour of the Carolina Hurricanes, the team that bumped the Bruins from the playoffs last year and probably represents the biggest hurdle for the Bruins this year in terms of winning the cup. Montgomery said it's an honor to represent the Bruins, representing the group and what they've accomplished so far in the first half. They probably deserve to have a handful of players representing the team as well. Right now, only Linus Ullmark will be there. Perhaps some more players after the fan vote. But we all know it's not necessarily the best players that go to the All-Star Game anymore because every team has to be represented. And now with the fan vote, there could be some anomalies as well, which I don't really love. However, Jim Montgomery will be there, and it's well-deserved. He's guided the Bruins to 32 wins through 40 games, tied with the 1944-45 Montreal Canadiens for second most at this stage of the season, behind the 1929-30 Bruins, who had 35 wins through 40 games. They have 68 points. It's the second most in league history behind those Bruins back in 1929-30. Montgomery said, he was surprised how quickly the Bruins picked up his new system through the first 20 games and in the grind of the season. He's amazed at the players' consistency, how hard they've been to play against. He doesn't think they've been dynamic offensively over the last 15 games. In fact, they've dropped from first in goals for per game to second behind the Buffalo Sabres, but they've remained consistent defensively, the top defending team in the NHL. And that shows in their otherworldly goal differential. So full credit to Jim Montgomery, who deserves all the credit, but also needs to thank Linus Ullmark for his role in helping the Bruins achieve so much success. Often you'll see that Vezina Trophy, Jack Adams kind of run in tandem. A coach is only as good as his goaltending. You can have all the systems in place, but if your goalie's letting in beach balls, it doesn't really matter. Ullmark leading the NHL with a 22-1-1 record, 1.7 goals against average, 938 save percentage. Insane how good he has been. And hopefully, at least David Pastrnak will be at the AllStar Game. He very much deserves to be there as well. Montgomery's excited to bring his family, the opportunity for his boys to go and meet all the stars in the league. Going to be an incredible experience, very similar to the Winter Classic. Certain things in your life you're very fortunate to be a part of, and this will be one of them. Hopefully, that will be followed up by a Stanley Cup final appearance and a Stanley Cup win later on this season. Coming up, we're going to do our weekly cup check as well as preview tonight's game against the Seattle Kraken. But first, this episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get all the latest odds and trends for every pro and amateur league out there. Pro football, basketball, NHL, upcoming MLB season as well. They've got it all at betonline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, you can find even more of those at BetOnline too. They're the fastest and easiest way to get your betting info. Just head to the website today or use their mobile app to learn more at BetOnline, where the game starts. On Thursdays here on Locked On Boston Bruins, we do our weekly cup check, which is a look at the NHL's top 5 teams and where the Bruins rank among them. Spoiler alert, the Bruins are still number 1 and the odds-on favorite to win the Stanley Cup this season. Why? Well, I've already mentioned their unbelievable record so far this season, 32-4-4 through 40 games. That's an .850 point percentage. They have a plus 68 goal differential, which is far and away the best gap between goals for and goals allowed in the NHL. Second place is plus 35, the Dallas Stars. So who is Boston's closest competition at the moment? Well, 9 points back in second place in the Atlantic, in the East, and overall are the Toronto Maple Leafs. They won last night. They have a record of 26-9-7, 59 points, 9 back of Boston, but the Bruins have 2 games in hand, which is insane. So they have a 7.02 point percentage. In any other year, probably good enough to be challenging for first place. Right now, they're still far behind the Bruins, and their plus 34 goal differential is half as good as Boston's. I mentioned the Carolina Hurricanes. They're still kicking around. They're 6-3-1 over their last 10, 25-9-7, 695 point percentage, only a plus 17 goal differential. So that has room for improvement. But as I mentioned on Tuesday's show, in the Eastern Conference Power Rankings, their underlying numbers are incredibly strong, and they're definitely a team to be reckoned with. Peter Kochetkov has carried the load in goal. Antti Raanta has been strong. Frederik Andersen may be coming back soon. And if he plays to his highest level, then that will really give them a boost. Those are the only 3 teams with single-digit losses in regulation this season. Boston with 4, Toronto and Carolina each with 9. They also have 7 overtime losses apiece. The Bruins have 4 overtime or shootout losses. In 4th place, the New Jersey Devils are still kicking around. They've won a couple in a row following a bit of a downswing. 26, 12, and 3, 55 points, a 671 point percentage, a plus 32 goal differential. And, Jack Hughes is continuing to emerge as a superstar player and a possible MVP candidate for that team. Now, in 5th place, there's 2 teams tied with a 667 point percentage. That would be the Dallas Stars at 25, 11, and 6, and the Vegas Golden Knights at 27, 13, and 2. Like I mentioned earlier, those 2 teams' coaches will be representing their clubs as coaches at the AllStar Game, as being first place in their respective divisions. That's the top 4 teams currently in the East right now between Boston, Toronto, Carolina, and New Jersey. I'm going to give Dallas the edge here this week as they have fewer losses and they have a much better goal differential than the Vegas Golden Knights. Dallas is also 7-3 over their last 10. They've won 2 in a row. A plus 35 goal differential compared to Vegas's plus 20. If we're going top 5 in terms of goal differential, you have Boston, Dallas, then Toronto, New Jersey. They're all at plus 30 or better, with Winnipeg in 5th place at plus 24. In 6th, Tampa Bay Lightning. And then next, you have tonight's opponent in the Seattle Kraken. So when it comes to the Eastern Conference competition, well, it's clear that the Bruins are far and away the best team in the East. They would right now be matched up with the second wildcard team, which would be the Pittsburgh Penguins. Honestly, not too concerned with them. They do have Crosby, Malkin, Letang, etc. But the Bruins playing much better than Pittsburgh this season. It would be Toronto, Tampa Bay in the first round in the Atlantic, New Jersey, and the Rangers. And then Carolina taking on the Washington Capitals. Over in the West, like I said, the best team right now is the Dallas Stars, followed by Vegas, Seattle, and Winnipeg. Honestly, I could see Dallas coming out of the West very easily. They have an incredible mix of veterans, young talent, a great goalie in Jake Ottinger. They're my pick at the moment to come out of the Western Conference. A Boston-Dallas. A Boston-Vegas will be awesome because of the Bruce Cassidy storyline being replaced by Jim Montgomery. Boston-Dallas would be cool as well because of Tyler Seguin, and just they're a very fun team to watch. So right now, those are your top 5 teams, and the Bruins have the healthiest cup check this week. Your favorites to win the Stanley Cup ahead of Toronto, Carolina, New Jersey, Dallas, and Vegas. Coming up after the break, we are going to preview tonight's game against the Seattle Kraken. This episode is brought to you in part by Built Bar. If you're looking for a delicious treat but don't want all the fat and calories, you have to try Built Bar. We just got through the holidays. I know my goal is to eat a little healthier this year. If you're like me, then you have to try Built Bar. Healthy is actually tasty when it comes to Built Bar. They're so delicious, you won't think they're good for you. They're perfect for your New Year's resolution. And what makes them so good is that they're covered in 100% real chocolate, but they're also good for you. 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 17 grams of protein. You don't need to wait around for a box to arrive in the mail anymore either. You can go to your local Walmart or Sam's Club, pharmacy section at Walmart, grab yourself a box of Built Bars, run into Sam's Club, grab a 13-bar box with some hit flavors like brownie, batter, and churro. Pick them up now and thank me later. Built Bar really is a wonder to behold. All right, so the Boston Bruins back home after the 3-game trip to California, and they will be taking on the Seattle Kraken. Una Koppinen will make his NHL debut against Seattle on Thursday night. He was recalled yesterday from Providence with Chris Wagner being sent down. He's got 5 goals, 19 points in 34 games this season. And part of the reason why he was called up in favor of Chris Wagner is because Thomas Nosek still not 100% and unable to take faceoffs. Why he's in the lineup at all, I'm not really sure. If you can't do faceoffs, how then can you shoot properly? I don't know. Pass? You have to have some pain there. Anyways, Nosek will likely be on the 4th line with Koppinen and Nick Foligno. No other changes to the lineup. Linus Ullmark expected to get the start. Koppinen says all the hard work over the years, trying to stay with his game in Providence, has helped him get to this point. He's been watching almost all the games this year with the Bruins. Obviously exciting to watch, like we all have enjoyed. And it's a privilege to come here and play for the team and the organization. Montgomery said Koppinen's had a really good year in Providence. They don't have a left shot center right now, and that can win draws because Nosek is still not 100%. He can play, but he can't take draws. Again, you have to think it affects other parts of his game. So it gives the Bruins an opportunity to see where you're looking down the road, the opportunity for supplemental players to be able to help in big moments, and what they hope is going to be some important games down the road. So Koppinen getting a look. The Bruins, with where they are in the standings, they have the luxury of perhaps, some load management along the way here, giving guys some rest, allowing other players to jump in the lineup, see what they can do in a pinch, and we'll probably see some players resting along the way and some guys coming up just to give them a bit of a break. From the Seattle point of things, they are much improved over last season, and they have a pretty balanced lineup. We all know our old friend Ryan Donato is over there. He's got 8 goals, 5 assists for 13 points. He's been kind of oft scratched. Carson Kuhlman was there. He was placed on waivers and grabbed by the Winnipeg Jets. They're led in scoring by Andre Burakovsky, 11 goals, 24 assists. Jordan Eberle is up there with 34 points. Likely Calder Trophy winner Matty Beniers has excelled on a line with those two guys lately. He's got 34 points as well. On the blue line, Vince Dunn leading the way with 29 points. But they have a balanced attack. Johnny Gourde, Jared McCann, Daniel Sprong, Justin Schultz, Jaden Schwartz, Brendan Tanev, all with 20 or more points. And then you still have some guys like Oliver Bjorkstrand, Alex Wenberg, Adam Larson, who are chipping in. So they're a team to watch tonight for sure. And it's not a guaranteed win over the second-year team. In net, it will likely be Martin Jones, 19-5-3. He only has an .894 save percentage on the season. Numbers are down goalie-wise across the league. If you have a fantasy team, it's a struggle to get some quality guys in net for you. Jones, however, has been extremely good in January. Perfect 5-0, .934 save percentage, and he's coming off a shutout over the Montreal Canadiens. Maybe not that big of a feat, but he also beat Ottawa, and more impressively, Toronto by a score of 5-1. Edmonton only allowing 2 goals. The Islanders allowing 1 goal against them. So it should be a tough test for the Boston Bruins tonight. Tough enough to earn their first regulation loss on home ice. Well, hopefully not, but not impossible, especially after coming back from California, having 3 full days off, whereas Seattle has been playing a couple games in the meantime and coming in hungry to prove that they can stack up against the best team in the league. And that's going to be a theme for the rest of the season. All right, that's it for today's episode, my friends. A packed one, but trying to keep it on the shorter side. Tomorrow, we will recap tonight's game. I'm also going to be joined by an old friend from the Score to talk about the Toronto game on Saturday. Not sure if that will be part of the regular podcast tomorrow or a bonus episode for Saturday, but stay tuned for that. I hope you're all taking care of yourselves, taking care of each other, and if you're looking for something to watch, not tonight, obviously, but coming up, we just watched the Bernie Madoff documentary on Netflix. Very well done. Hard to watch at times. I think they could have gone a bit deeper into the victim impact stories, but a really fascinating watch to see how that all came about. All right. Go on. Have a great rest of your Thursday, and please do subscribe if you haven't already to Locked On Boston Bruins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your favorite team every single day.